bring this country together, maybe bring some of the world together, but we're going to bring this country together. We have a divided country. It's been divided for many, many years, but we're going to bring it together.
President Trump today denouncing bigotry and making a fresh call for unity during his visit to the National Museum of African American History and Culture earlier. But with overwhelming obstructionism across the aisle and rising dissatisfaction with the state of race relations in this country, will the president be able to make his pledge a reality? Katrina Pierson is here to discuss. Katrina, it's a long time. Nice seeing you.
Good to see you, Charles.
You know, this is one issue where you have a tremendous amount of anxiety by all Americans. And it's fair to say it got extremely worse, a lot more worse, under President Obama. So how does President Trump deal with this? Because I think inheriting race relations is worse than the economy he inherited.
No, I think you're absolutely right, Charles. But if anybody can bring people together, it's going to be Donald Trump, and particularly as president. As you mentioned, the previous administration, in my lifetime, I had not seen race relations this bad, and it was very disturbing, particularly in communities that were actually targeting police officers. That had taken this country to a new level. But President Trump, all throughout the campaign trail even, was talking about uniting the country, and that is because he loves people in general. And I think that's something that the mainstream media missed. They were too focused on trying to demonize him and create that racist narrative. But what they're going to find out, and what the people are going to find out, is through his legislative agenda, exactly how his policies are actually going to help those people that the media says that he hates.
So we know policies help because ultimately, like in economics, the same tide lifts all boats, and people will feel better. But how does he get around the mainstream media and some of the older so-called civil rights organizations, or even some of the older folks in the Congressional Black Caucus, who, like a Maxine Waters, who will never, ever come to the table and talk heart-to-heart with the President Trump?
Well, I think a lot of people, even in those communities, they realize that those particular Congress people really haven't had their best interests in mind because they've had their own scandals along the way. But I do think that he's been able to bypass the media. There's going to be grassroots efforts on the outside to help get his message out. And these policies at the end, when they are debated fairly, as they will be when they hit Congress, I think it's really going to make people think twice, particularly when it comes to education. We can't even talk about another policy that is going to impact inner city communities and the children there other than education. That is the great poverty equalizer. Not only that, but he is the only person that's actually taken an interest on the inner cities and actually wants to help combat crime in those cities, because we know that the vulnerable people there are going to benefit from Trump's policies.
Real quick, I also want to ask you about anti-Semitism and President Trump speaking out on that as well. Almost immediately you had the Anne Frank Center saying it's too little too late. The media today with Sean Spicer really taking him to task, suggesting that for some reason they continue to suggest that President Trump is anti-Semitic.
Well, I think it's fair to say at this point, it doesn't really matter what the president says, what he does, or when he does it. The mainstream media is going to find something to complain about. It is very well established that Donald Trump is not anti-Semitic. His daughter is Jewish. He has Jewish grandchildren. He holds Israel in the highest regards, has a lot of respect for Bibi Netanyahu, wants to make sure that America holds its relationship with Israel sacred. So again, this is just the mainstream media taking any and everything they can to try to demonize this president and the public. And
Bibi Netanyahu, of course, last week saying that Israel has no greater friend than President Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
Katrina, thank you very much.
Great to be here. Thanks, Charles.